So, welcome to this session, which I'm calling Metaverse Marketing and/or Marketing in the Metaverse. This is a fascinating topic for any of us in marketing and communications. And now, right here, right now, is the time to begin your curiosity. We've all heard the big announcement of late from Facebook as they convert themselves into a new brand called Meta. But Meta is literally the tip of the future iceberg that is going to be called the Metaverse. And I'm going to talk you through, in very, very top line terms, what the Metaverse is and also what it means for us as marketers, business owners, entrepreneurs, communicators in the world going forward, because the world for us commercially in business is going to change beyond recognition, beyond what we can even conceive as possible right now. So now is the time to begin thinking, and I'm going to spend this little session just talking to you about some of the reasons why I believe that the time is now, because the metaverse is already in part here. So when people start to think about and start to conceive of what the metaverse might be, they often think of this in a future tense. In other words, when it arrives, when it comes, then I need to be interested. I'm going to challenge you to say that I think it's right here, right now. And I reckon that from a competitive advantage, particularly if you're in a young or fledgling business, or you're in an organization that's in a quite a challenging, maybe stagnant or commoditized marketplace, now is the time to be searching within the concept of metaverse for competitive advantage, because it genuinely is there. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that as we go through this session. So what is the metaverse? Let's begin, as I often do in these kinds of sessions, with a definition. What actually is it? Okay, so here's a definition from Eric Elliott, who spoke in Medium. And Eric says that the metaverse, and I particularly like this definition because there's a real clarity here over what it actually is. So he says the metaverse is the digital world where anything we can imagine can exist. Eventually, we'll be connected to the metaverse all the time, extending our senses of sight, sound, and touch, blending digital items into the physical world, or popping into fully immersive 3D environments whenever we want. That family of technologies is known collectively as extended reality, or in brackets, XR. Okay, so we've had AR, augmented reality, VR, virtual reality. We're now moving into the realm of extended reality. And as a marketer, myself, I am very, very excited about this opportunity, because to me, extended reality allows for a whole host of, and I'll draw on the word that we just talked about there, immersive experiences. Okay, so no longer will we be confined digitally to social media or to a relatively static, inactive website, just conveying our brands and our products and services. We'll be moving into an environment as a marketer, as a communicator, as a business owner, of a fully immersive experience. So I just want to leave that little thought with you as we go through the rest of this talk, a fully immersive experience. And we've never really had this before. You could argue, yes, in the real life sense, in traditional sense, offline, we have been able to, if we're really, really savvy marketers, we've been able to choreograph a fully immersive real world experience. But what we're doing now is we're taking that into a blended online stroke offline environment. So for me as a marketer, this is super exciting. You know, we've never known anything like this. I've been in marketing now for some 35, 36 years, and never in that time have I ever encountered something with the potential for this. It is really, really huge. Now, this, as I said right at the start of this talk, this is not new. Okay, a lot of people think, oh, metaverse is something that's going to be coming in the future. We have had an iteration of the metaverse in a very, very basic sense for a long, long time, over 10 years. Second Life, for example, was established in 2003. It still has nearly 1 million active users. You know, this is something as a concept of the metaverse, this kind of interactive 3D world that has actually existed for a long, long time. It's just that it hasn't yet been fully embraced. And there's a lot of reasons around that, a lot of reasons in terms of the background technologies, in terms of the accessibility of it, in terms of the devices that enable you to become immersed in a 3D immersive environment. Lots of these things are still playing catch up with the concept, but it already does exist. So if we take that as the first premise here, that it's here, right now, in its very basic, maybe alpha sense, not even beta sense, but it's here, then we have an opportunity to begin to immerse ourselves in it as we look for opportunities. And these opportunities are coming thick and fast. I was looking, before I started this little talk, I was looking for some statistics, some up-to-date data on some of the big players who are already investing millions and millions of dollars in terms of beginning to shape up the metaverse as we're going to know it in the coming years. Roblox, good example here. This is an immersive 3D developer-driven platform based around gaming, and they already have 9.5 million developers creating content, creating immersive experiences. 9.5 million developers. And they, amongst them, have created 24 million experiences. So this is not new. This is already here and already happening. And the amount of engagement collectively and collaboratively is claimed to be some 73 billion cumulative hours that they've been engaging to create this stuff. So we're moving into a very, very different environment very, very quickly. And that, to me as a marketer, is really exciting. And interestingly here, and this is going to be a little bit of a theme for this talk, interestingly, already the cumulative earnings from these developers working in immersive 3D development of the metaverse equates to over $760 million on this platform alone. So there's a few themes here, and I'm going to be touching on these as we go through this talk. So it is the sheer volume of people already involved in this space. So this is not a fad that's going to go away. This is serious investment of serious developers and serious tech companies. Okay, and they're spending serious amounts of time and already creating serious revenue from their development work. So this isn't just a sort of a pie in the sky idea from Mark Zuckerberg. This is actual stuff that's really happening right now. And already new environments are being created and are being used for a variety of purposes. Now, I was on a podcast last week, and one of the questions was, where is the metaverse for marketers going to start? You know, where are we going to be seeing the first opportunities? And we kind of, in the conversation, we decided there were two key areas, and probably unsurprisingly, that are going to drive this. And we've seen this in the past. So over kind of recent times, and actually in the distant past, we've seen it grow, this kind of thing, this kind of tech drive growing from two particular areas. And one is music, okay, and the other is gaming. So if we blend music and gaming together, I mean, a great example is Sansa, a new live events and music platform, online and available on sort of PC and also through VR, and you can join for free. You can go in and be part of a 3D immersive virtual reality music gig, or you can go and see your favorite DJ in this platform. So it's already there, it's already being developed. So music is going to be one of the key drivers, and if you're not in the music industry, it doesn't matter. You can go in and experience these 3D environments already and start to kind of figure out some of the early opportunities that might present themselves to you for your business and your brand. Now, where's this being driven from? Well, okay, we've got the tech companies, we've got the futurologists, we've got Meta coming through saying, yeah, this is going to be the future of the internet. So there's a lot of people kind of talking about this, but from a consumer perspective, so the actual end users of these immersive experiences, where's this going to come from? Well, it's already happening in the Gen Z, so the younger community, and also in the millennials, as we might term those. So people, anyone in their teens or in their 20s are already creating avatars So Avakin Life, for example, designed to create an avatar if you're looking to be playing sort of games and you're a teen. You know, Avakin Life has been around for a little while now, and you can create, as they claim, unlimited ways to be you. So already in the psyche of the emerging generations, we're seeing this alternative reality. So extended reality, XR, that we talked about before in terms of the technology, is going to be very, very quickly blending with the desire of the emerging generations, the Gen Zs and the millennials, to have an alternate themselves. So unlimited ways to be you is a very, very fascinating kind of collective psyche of how people, as they come to sort of adulthood and then sort of begin their adult journey, are seeing themselves. They're not just seeing themselves in a traditional physical body sense, they're seeing a digital persona as part of them emerging. So again, this is another one of these key fundamental drivers as to why this is important right now. And you can already go in and create in something like maybe Sandbox, for example. You can actually go in and create assets, digital assets. You can go in and build a gaming experience. And this is where something like Sandbox is something that's going to really be, as a concept, something that's going to drive forward the whole idea of the emergence of the metaverse. And importantly here, I'm going to introduce a couple of more terms into the mix here. It is about immersive experience, undoubtedly. It is about having the underpinning technologies. It is about needing the hardware to be able to access this stuff, because it isn't about just watching it on a screen anymore, that static kind of 2D environment. We're talking about immersing ourselves in. But importantly, there's two more concepts that are coming in here. And one of those is NFTs. Non-fungible tokens. If you're not familiar with NFTs, I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time talking about NFTs now, but you need to Google NFTs, because again, as a whole concept of digital assets, again, we're here to talk about metaverse marketing. So you've got to be figuring out, what kind of digital assets do I have that maybe I could convert into NFTs. In other words, I could actually future-proof what I look like, what I'm perceived as, and the value I add in an immersive 3D digital world in the future by figuring out what digital assets I have that I could protect by making them into NFTs. Okay, so that's one of the very first actions that we need to be thinking about here, is what digital assets do I have that could create and provide value, and I'm talking real value, so experiential value as well as financial value in a 3D immersive metaverse world. Sandbox, go and have a look at it. It's a really, really good and interesting concept that will get you thinking about that marketing opportunity, which is here, right now. And the other concept, over and above NFTs and immersive experience and 3D environments, and this desire of the emerging community or the emerging generations to really embrace this, because they're already living and breathing it within a gaming environment right now, is the idea of blockchain-driven interactivity. Now, there's a big phrase. For those of you new to this whole concept here, I'm using a lot of kind of jargony terms, and I would expect really for to go and, if these aren't familiar to you, go and Google these things. Within blockchain, what we're looking at here is something that's decentralized in terms of ownership. Okay, I'm not going to dive deeply into the explanation of blockchain and cryptocurrencies and NFTs and stuff. You can go away and look at those, at your leisure. But the concept here of blockchain, in other words, a decentralized ownership of the metaverse. So the metaverse isn't like we've got at the moment with Meta stroke Facebook, where it's owned by Meta stroke Facebook, and you go to them, they control what's going to happen, they control the interface, they control the environment, they set the rules, they set the privacy things. It's kind of all about them, and you're playing their game. Within the metaverse, this bigger holistic environment that we're going to be creating digitally, it's blockchain driven. In other words, there is no central point of ownership. We all own it. Great example is Decentraland. where you are required to be inquisitive, if you like, and start exploring, and for yourself, create, explore, and trade in the first ever, as they claim it, this is using their words, the first ever virtual world owned by its users. Okay, so the concept of blockchain, distributed ownership, so we all own a part of the metaverse as soon as we start trading in there, as soon as we start adding our NFT-driven digital assets into there, as soon as we start contributing to a conversation, as soon as we rock up to the next kind of DJ event, whatever it is, whatever we decide are going to be our early steps, we're part of a decentralized, and that's a really key difference here compared to what we have now with the internet, a decentralized environment. And again, this comes back to the point of saying it's already started, it's already here. And I do really think that the savvy marketers amongst us are going to be looking at this and thinking, hey, hold on a minute. If this isn't future and it's here right now, I need to get in early. So I need to be inquisitive early because I need to spot the opportunities before my competition does. Because if I don't, I could be missing a trick. And we're already seeing from a business to business, I want to bring this back to the kind of the marketing element now. We're already seeing in a business to business environment, huge opportunities to do virtual events, for example. You can go to something like VFairs. So go search VFairs, which is a virtual environment for real world and digital conferences or expos or summits or exhibitions. So you can literally go in and you can log in at the reception desk, you can get your pass, you can go into the presentation seminar room, you can go around and look at virtual exhibition stands. We've got this stuff already for us. VFairs is a great example. Many others are available. I'm not sponsored by any of the names I'm quoting here. This is just me looking at good examples to share with you to get you set up and to get you started on this journey of exploration. But it's already here now. And these virtual events, as VFairs claims, feel real. And this is all about captivating the attendees. This is all about, as they describe it, game-changing virtual environment features. In other words, they're creating something that gives you that wow feeling when you go in there. You just look at it and you think, this is so cool. Now, what can I do here? And it just gets those creative juices flowing. And that's what we're after here. We're not about solving the problem right here, right now, today. Bringing it back to this is about marketing in the metaverse, metaverse marketing. We're thinking about those early days of exploration. Great marketing is driven by both customer need and your capability to serve that need. So until you actually know what the need is within the metaverse, you can't really even start to have an opinion. So the starting points here are to be curious and to get in there and check out some of these services. So Eric Elliott, who we just quoted a little bit earlier there, sort of talking in Medium, says that, okay, so let's kind of break down what these elements are, these important differences versus the internet as we know it right now. So Eric talks about the metaverse means many things, but the main ingredients are ubiquitous networking. Talk about that a little bit more in terms of community, but ubiquitous networking, cryptocurrencies, crypto networks like Bitcoin and Ethereum, extended reality, XR, that we talked about, but the XR including things like virtual reality and augmented reality, and non-fungible tokens, NFTs. So all of those things that you've seen in the media, you've read about, you maybe have delved into, maybe you've invested a little bit in Bitcoin, whatever it is, whatever your level of experience of this stuff, the metaverse could, should, and will likely be where all these things come together. And that to me is something that is super, super interesting as we actually explore the opportunities as marketers. This is the kind of the natural home, if you like, for all of these concepts. So the big difference in the metaverse versus the internet as we know it right now, and digital communications and social media as we've known it for the last couple of decades, the big difference in the metaverse is decentralized ownership, blockchain economy, and true NFT-style economic longevity. There's a quote, let's break that bit down again. The big difference in the metaverse is decentralized ownership, So nobody actually owns it. There'll be big players in there, Meta and others, big names that we'll already be familiar with, but nobody actually owns it. Okay, it's decentralized. Blockchain economy. So nobody's actually going to tell you how to spend your money and your assets or your marketing budget in there. And consequently, the consumers of all these things in there, nobody's actually telling them how to spend their money or what their value and what their money's worth. As marketers, we can start to drive where the value is. Again, another exciting difference than we have right now. And the true NFT style economic longevity. Whoa, there's a phrase. NFT style economic longevity. Basically, if you've got digital assets, now is the time to be NFTing. Now is the time to figure out which ones are going to provide the best value in the long term. Because if you NFT them now and get your community, your customers, your supply chain to invest in your NFTs, then you've made yourself really robust for not only the longer term, but also in the short term within the metaverse. Hugely, hugely exciting opportunities. If you think that you're in a traditional marketplace, this will blow that away. This gives you global potential. Even if you're a little small player in a little niche marketplace, you can make this whatever you want to make it. And it's all about understanding how your brand, how your business, how your organization can be relevant in this kind of a space. And it is about commercial relevance. We're not just talking about, hey, I can make my brand look great in this new digital environment. This is about a real world financial and economic commitment. I was looking up, before this talk, I was looking up a few infographics and came across a few word clouds. And the one consistent thing, and there was one particular one that I liked from dreamstime.com, which really, really summed up how they all look and do thing on the metaverse, when they sort of speak on podcasts, when they're writing articles on the metaverse. There's a consistent theme, and it comes through in all of the word clouds that you see. And this is economic value. This is something so, so different from some of the other things and the other kind of dot-com bubbles that were in the past. There's something different about metaverse. And this is that it's underpinned by real, tangible commercial value. And it might not be commercial value as we know it right now. And again, this is another thing that excites me. We won't be trading on the traditional things we traded on. You give me $1, I'll give you some service. You pay £1, I'll give you this product. This is different. As soon as you start to talk about blockchain, you start to talk about a different form of currency, a different form of economics. But the one thing that's very, very clear is that economics sits right at the heart of the metaverse. This is not just something that looks good and sounds great and is, really sexy in terms of the technology. This has commercial viability inherently built into it. It is part of the way that it's actually created. And the various levels, and there are many models that people are now starting to build to how the metaverse is going to be created. And there is a very popular one called the 7 layers model of the metaverse. And it talks about the 7 layers of infrastructure. And there is economic value to be had in development and in investing at each of the levels. Yeah, there's the base infrastructure level where, we've got to have an infrastructure in here as to how this is going to be communicated. So kind of 5G, Wi-Fi, basic tech infrastructure. And there's the human interface. There could be development and economic value there. As we recognize them at the moment, the smart sort of wearables and headsets, the mobile, there could be sort of gesture technologies, whatever those things happen to be, but it's that human interface level. That's another really strong economic level. There's the decentralization level. This is the AI agents and blockchain and sort of edge computing, as it's called, to enable the technologies to kind of, in effect, speak to each other. Extended on top of that, we've got the spatial computing level. And this level is all about the kind of the 3D engines and the XR, this extended reality, the kind of the spatial tech that will enable this immersive kind of environment for you to be able to walk in and experience. Above that, we've got the creator economy level, where we're going to be looking at sort of the design tools, the assets, the commerce, if you like, and the workflow. So some of the more practical things that come a little bit closer to us as marketers. Notice we haven't even talked about marketing yet. That's at level 7, the real top level. The 6th level is discovery. So this is where we're going to be having the social levels, the curation, the ratings, the stores that we're going to be walking into to be able to purchase product and service. And of course, things like, for us marketers, the ad networks, they're going to be plumbed in at that level 6. But for marketing, it's level 7. It's that layer that sits right across the top, and that is the experience level. The layer that is all about this immersive, experiential, feeling, touching, sort of essential area that will be how we define our shopping experience as marketers, how we define the gaming experience, the social experience, the theatre of it all, you might describe this as. And at each of these layers of the metaverse, because it has to be a physical thing, we've got to create this thing. It's got to be hosted somewhere. Of course, in blockchain, it's hosted in many places. But it is for us as marketers to be not really worrying too much about that. We'll let the clever developers and rocket scientists of this world figure those 6 layers below. We'll let them figure this out. For us marketers or communicators or business owners, it's about thinking about the experience layer. That layer on the top where we can add true value to the marketing experience that we provide for customers and potential prospects who may become very inquisitive about our brand and how we're going to be communicating in the future. So the likes of Meta will sit at that higher level, the likes of Netflix, OpenSea, for example, Zoom, all of these brands that we're kind of seeing come through, and a lot of the gaming platforms as well will sit at that very, very high level 7. And there will be this huge, powerful infrastructure, loads of collaboration happening underneath that at those other 6 layers. But as marketers, let's just focus on the one thing at the moment that we can influence, and that is about defining and finding the value add in the immersive experience that is the potential of the metaverse. That's really where we should be focusing. So what I'm saying is I've introduced you probably to lots of different terminologies, lots of phrases, lots of jargon here, and a lot of this is stuff that you don't really have to worry about. Somebody else can take care of that. But just being aware that these are the fundamental building blocks is important to spot these opportunities. So here's a nice quote from Isabel Perry, Director of Technology at Byte. And Isabel says, "Metaverses are jam-packed with innovative marketing potential, ranging from live shopping to virtual stores, fashion shows, product launches, content production, live flagship events, enhanced social, pimping up of social Zoom calls, and NFTs paving the way for real economies. The possibilities that this hybrid digital physical world offers are near endless, and it's time for forward-thinking brands to get involved." And that was something that Isabel published in AdAge, the media publication for advertisers. It's here, right now. And her point about forward-thinking brands to get involved now, this is your chance, this is your moment. You might think, well, it's a bit too cutting edge for us. We still need to deliver, the day job. We still need to be kind of, practicing in our world at the moment. And yes, of course you do. But just putting aside maybe 5 to 10% of your energies and efforts to investigating, to researching, to figuring this out, and to figuring out how your brand or product or service might align in this new, innovative, new marketing economy is going to be absolutely crucial looking forward. There's a really interesting article in influencermarketinghub.com, and I got this little quote from them, and because it's really quite an interesting one to kind of really change our marketing mindset. The old marketing definitions are long since gone. We need to kind of reinvent ourselves as marketers, as business owners, as communicators. And this quote said, "Since metaverses are experiential and immersive in nature, it's best to take advantage of this by offering the same immersive experience with your ads and marketing initiatives. Offer branded installations and events that users can interact with, as opposed to just placing simple ads. Now, influencermarketinghub.com, quite an influential sort of thought leader on these kinds of topics, is making it very, very clear to us as marketers that we can choose, and it is all about choice. We can choose to stick in the same world that we've always been in, take the easy route, just kind of, publish the day-to-day, put a bit of content out into social and think we've done a good job as a marketer. Well, I'm going to wish you very, very good luck if that is your choice, because before long, that will be irrelevant. And I will challenge that you will also be irrelevant. Yeah, this is a hard challenge. This is saying we've got to wake up as marketers. And I put myself in this category too. I've got to figure out for myself and my products and my services, my consulting, my teaching, my mentorship, how can I do things differently, adding more value and taking advantage of this new, and we'll say it again, immersive experience. Notice how many times I've said that word. This is what we've really got to understand, is what is our customer journey at the moment? How can we make it more immersive? How can we blend this new evolving marketplace into what we do right now? If you haven't been through a practice of actually creating and plotting out your customer's journey, you've got to do that first. You've got to figure out, what is the journey I'm taking my customer on? Because if you're not actually even doing that, you need to basically backtrack and fill those little checklists in, because it's really important to know what you're delivering now before you can move forward. And it's already happening. There are innovative brands, and I'm going to tell you about two or three of those in just a moment, but there are 2 or 3 brands who are really, really making incredible gains already by taking this approach. So this isn't new stuff that isn't happening. This is stuff that's happening here today. Balenciaga, for example, launched its dystopian game Afterworld, showcasing its futuristic clothing line within Metaverse. Fortnite, you might have heard of this one. This was well quoted in the media. Fortnite, the player versus player game played by hundreds of millions in the Gen Z age group, recently collaborated with Nike to promote its new Jordan sneakers. And also, and this was for me the real kind of game changer here, teamed up with the rapper Travis Scott for a virtual gig to an audience of, get this, over 10 million. When was the last time you had an audience of over 10 million come to one of your events or one of your webinars or one of your conferences? Probably not for quite some time, I'd suggest. So the opportunity in here for the early adopters is massive. Another example for you, the hugely popular esports game League of Legends collaborated recently with Louis Vuitton for its latest World Championship. So we're already seeing some of these kind of very future-facing brands collaborating, building communities, and figuring out how they can join together to collaborate and work on marketing in a community kind of sense to bring huge value to what is potentially a very hungry audience already. So my challenge to you is, what could you have brought to play in an immersive environment like that? What could you do? I'm not necessarily suggesting that you go seeking out Travis Scott to work with Travis to produce a virtual gig, but what is relevant to you and your brands and your services? What could you bring as an immersive experience to your audience? And when you do bring that to them, what are they going to be left with? And this comes again back to the NFT thing. You know, NFTs is all about, at the moment, it's all about collectibles. People love collecting things. And the metaverse is yet another space for them to showcase their interests, for them to collect stuff of value that you're providing. So what digital assets could, should, would be collectible by your audience? Could you draw in a new audience by making things really attractive to them that are collectibles? You can make the same experience available in the metaverse as you might in the real world by offering assets or limited edition items, maybe that they can only collect in the metaverse. thoughts again from influencermarketinghub.com. They are very much about sort of seeing where are the early kind of significant touch points going to come. And it is about entertainment, it is about gaming, but it's also about collectibles. There's a real wave coming, almost you can argue a tsunami coming, of collectability within the metaverse. So what have you got that could be collected, that could be NFT'd, to allow yourself to actually leverage the collectability of what you have right here, right now? This is not for the future. What have you got right here, right now that you could put into that mix? Because starting to think this through and starting to get into OpenSea and seeing how you can actually maybe buy and invest in a few little, probably low value at this stage, just if you're testing it out, but some low value digital assets or NFTs, go and have a play, see how this stuff works. It isn't rocket science. Once you get in there and build the confidence that, hey, I can do this stuff. Hey, I can actually be in this world too. You'll be amazed at what that might trigger in ideas for the future. And another area as well that we're kind of sort of, drip feeding in here, and again, this was another idea through influencermarketinghub.com, is that it's all about communities. And already there are some communities building in here in the metaverse, even outside of the gaming communities, which are obviously hugely strong, and the esport communities, which are going off the scale in terms of interactability. But engaging with existing communities that are already in there. So think of the metaverse potentially as a little bit of an influencer campaign. User-generated content is important. So community members become integral parts of the execution of your campaigns going forward. So it is about collectible. It is about going and doing the research as to where are your customers or your potential customers of the near future. What are they doing? Where are they residing? Are they at those virtual gigs? Are they in even places like Second Life? Where are they? What are they doing? A lot of brands are still saying, oh, my customers are too traditional. They don't even use social media. That is fundamentally flawed thinking. That is backward thinking that was 20, 25 years ago. But companies and brands and individuals are still saying the same old mantra. This is not for me or my marketplace. And yet the world is now social. So did you miss the boat? Did you miss the moment? And think about it. What business could you have created economically? What competitive advantage could you have struck if you'd got in relatively early? Well, don't miss the boat again. And if this is new to you and you didn't believe that people used to do that, well, I can tell you they're still doing it. Now, I get to hear virtually, I wouldn't say every day, but certainly every week, that kind of negative, oh, this isn't for us. You're missing the opportunity with that kind of mindset. So figure out who your influencers are. And these could be micro influencers, people who only have 10s or 20s or hundreds of connections. But if they're hugely influential and powerful, they could be the ones who you can use to unlock the metaverse for your brand or your product or service. And this is about B2B, business to business, as much as it is about business to consumer. We've already seen the B2B example of VFairs and these virtual conferences. And hellofuture.orange.com, great article in there, sort of recently published, which said in B2B, business to business, the challenge is how the metaverse can solve the problems of the operator's customers. Immersive meetings, as an example, augmented involvement in factories, remote assistance, training. And I'm sure for them, if they're thinking about this in depth, the list will go on. So even if you're in a business-to-business environment and you're thinking, hey, this seems to be all about wrappers and NFTs and collectible sneakers and all this kind of stuff, it isn't. The trick here to be a really effective marketer, to be sustainably marketing for your business today and into the near future, as well as the long term, is to be thinking about immersive experience, immersive meetings, immersive remote assistance, immersive training. Think about your suppliers and your resellers. So either side of you in your supply chain, how do you interact with them at the moment? Because in the future, not too distant future, probably The metaverse will offer you up an immersive experience. So you could have suppliers and you could have resellers anywhere on the planet getting as high a quality experience in their training and their understanding of what you do as somebody who's actually sat there in the room with you. Because in the metaverse, they are there in the 3D room with you. So it is a bit about turning around your kind of understanding of actually what marketing really means, about what communication really means. And it's about trying to break down those barriers, those ideas that it's always going to be what we've always had. Those worlds are now gone. The pace of change, the speed of change, the opening up of these opportunities is not only hugely exciting, but it's actually here right now for all of us. Business to consumer and business to business as well. And yes, of course, there will be a lot of things that have got to happen. You know, we do need to understand that there are going to be some standards to be set. You know, there will be, regulations that will emerge, and a lot of this will be self-policing. A lot of the regulations, I'm not talking legislation here, legal stuff, I'm talking regulations, stuff that's relevant to our own marketplaces. You know, there will be some rules and terms of engagement that we're going to have to really set, but that's exciting because we have no barriers, really. We can decide what worked in the past that we can bring forward into this new exciting world. We can leave behind the stuff that was really the bane of our lives and really didn't add huge amounts of value. So we can create this panacea. We can create this amazing new space into which we can put all of our economic trading and, just do things better. Yes, we know there's an infrastructure. Yes, we know there's a lot of different things that we need to factor into this. But as marketers, what is not to like about the opening up of a whole new market opportunity? Yes, there is work to do. It's not going to happen overnight. But collectively and collaboratively, and that is, again, another key of the metaverse, you're not going to do this alone. We need to figure out who do we want around us as guides, as mentors, as coaches, as specialists, as people who can plug into where we're not particularly strong, but they're a specialist in it, so we can plug them into our little sort of eco-verse, as it were, to help us to move this thing forward. That's part of this game. From marketing in the metaverse, we've got to figure out who else do we need to work with, because it isn't just solely about us. So here's a kind of almost a penultimate quote to get you to hopefully start to think about this and do some research right here, right now. Another little quote from AdAge, and I really, really like this one. The time to take action is now. If you're a marketer dazzled by the possibilities a nascent sphere like this offers, you might ask, what do I need to do with my brand in the metaverse? The answer, according to AdAge, is to start with the basics. Investigate what's out there, have a hard look at your brand's DNA, and find out what suits you best. And I love that, because what it's saying is you can't do everything. It's not saying you've got to be into everything. It's not saying you need to build the infrastructure, but starting out by investigating what's out there, figuring out what you're good at, where you add some true value, and where this, and I'll use the words again, this immersive experience might come to the fore in what it is you offer. That's what is going to suit you best in this early starting point in the journey for metaverse marketing. So you can genuinely begin today. Find the communities, find the people who already know, who are already experiencing a little of this, and kind of figure out the pros and cons, the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities and the threats. Do those little analyses and kind of figure out what the opportunity might be. Think deeply, deeply, deeply about your immersive experience. What is it you're doing now that works? What would you like to improve upon? And then, of course, what could you do going forward? And when it comes to the digital assets that you have, or ones that you could have in the future, find your collectibles, find the assets, those digital things that maybe you might want to even turn into NFTs right here, right now, because you can. And that in itself could be a way of future-proofing yourself. And if you're still at the end of listening to this talk, sat there thinking, okay, it's all very nice, Neil, great, yeah, lovely, still doesn't feel like it's happening, still doesn't feel relevant. Well, let me tell you, there are trademark applications. Here's a great example by Nike. Nike are filing multiple trademark applications at the moment for everything that they do in the real world to be replicatable in virtual environments. So if you choose not to pay attention, if you choose to say, thank you, Neil, that was interesting, but it's not for me, there will be a consequence to ignoring the metaverse and the marketing potential within it. Nike know it, they're already filing for trademarks. I'm not suggesting today you have to go out and do the same, but just be awake, just be aware, and just stay in tune with this thing because it's already happening. And a final little thought I want to leave you with is that if you think that this is going to be niche, if you think that this isn't coming to a city near you anytime soon, then I'd like you to just go and do a search on a particular website. The URL of the website is earth, E-A-R-T-H, the number 2.io. Just go and have a little look at earth2.io, because already, right here today, you can buy land in the metaverse. Okay? You can do this right here, right now. So if you think this thing is not happening, just have a little look at earth2.io and just be aware that brands like Nike are already trademarking their ability to trade and protect themselves in the metaverse. It isn't just Neil Wilkins on this talk saying that this thing is here, right now, or it's coming. It's already here. And those are two neat little examples. Go and have a look at earth2.io if you think what I'm saying is futurology. It's not. You can actually buy virtual real estate right here, right now. So hopefully you found that of interest. Hopefully that has whetted your appetite. Hopefully you've had a think about this, maybe even already identified an opportunity or two to think about how you might want to take this forward for your own brand. It is about being inquisitive. It is about being a little bit of a metaverse sponge going forward. And yeah, bookmark some things, bookmark some places where you can stay up to date with the latest thinking. There are many places that could be quite useful for you. I'm keeping on my website, neilwilkins.online. If you want to keep up to date with some filtered content around the metaverse, it's a tag that I'm tracking. And on my website every day, there is filtered content on the metaverse for marketers. So feel free to bookmark my homepage, which hopefully might provide you with some ongoing feeds of the opportunity. We know it's going to start in gaming and music. We've already seen that, but very soon it's coming to a marketplace like yours. You can rest assured of that. The big players don't invest money like they're investing it right now. The developers don't spend their whole waking lifetime developing if this isn't a serious thing. We've seen a lot of stuff come and go, but this is serious investment in a serious new opportunity for marketers. So I would say keep in touch. If we're not connected already, do please connect with me. You'll find me on social, the current social rather than the metaverse social, at Neil Wilkins X. You can certainly follow my podcast, the Neil Wilkins Podcast, and I'd encourage you to do that, subscribe to that, because I will be talking a lot more about metaverse marketing as we go through the next year, because I think we're going to see unprecedented amounts of opportunity. But now is the time to become curious. Now is the time to just keep abreast of the topic and just make sure that you are there at the right time to dive deeply into this. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this particular episode interesting and helpful, and I look forward to hopefully at some point in the not too distant future seeing you in a virtual world somewhere else sometime soon. Have a great day.